Pisha to datri 1011 شاريلي أسيريا تيفي بفروسيفي وموزا بناو هاوي أسيريا تيفي أوقولو حيرو وأوقولو شاريو دوعا موسريو يببريثو وأوني جد أسيريا تيفي دماحت فرجونو بوفوكوس ودنوقل عطيبي وشرشو تتكون بين دوعا ميذن لبريثو كولا لجن أسيريا تيفت قدرم داوم بوفلحونيفي قلوزملي إم عذرون ثثخو إذا كورحميتو أو شغلت أسيريا تيفي وكوحوزيتو إلصويثت أسيريا تيفي بو حقلو دي ميديا مفصوحين ساقيد معذريتو أسيريا تيفي درب مشحل في كبخ معذريتو أسيريا تيفي كبخو هويتو هادومي بو فيسبوك منيونو زوزة ناعيمة أو إنقلد رحميتو دهويتو هادومي بو يوتيوب تاموستب منيونو زوزة ناعيمة كبعيتو دهوال خميديا كتلة قولو حيرو ودلتيو ما صرتو عم قابي شوتوسي توكوسي وأوعيتا ووثي مقوايو أسيريا تيفي مقوايو وقولتخو يميديا
Hello, my name is Joseph Pirayou. I want to welcome you for today's program in the beginning, Ashur. As always, this is a live program today, 11 a.m. California time. And if you have any questions, any comments you want to put on the comment sections, if I can answer, I will. If not, for the future programs, there were some comments that were made for the last two programs regarding the Ashur number one enemy, but that would be next program. I will talk about that today. It's a different subject. Today is December 21st, 2023. I don't know how many of you know, tonight would be the longest night of the year. After that, the day will start getting longer. When we start going towards spring and then summer, then we have that longest night, and it goes back to the same circle. And some old cultures regard this day as a day to, I don't know how to put it, to celebrate. Yeah, it was a festival. So today would be, or tonight would be, what scientists, they call that winter solstice. This is when the longest night of the year happens and the days get shorter. And in some cultures, it's called winter festival. Now, as you can see, December 21st is like a few days before Christmas. You know, there is what they call so close, or there any relationship with these the traditions that go back specifically on the December 21st, then we'll talk about Christmas, is that one thing I know for I don't know, for as long as I can remember. I was born in Tehran, Iran, and on this night, the there would be a celebration was called Yalda or Yelda, Shabe Yalda, the night of Yelda or birth. And I think it's not just the meaning birth, it probably is son, as I will explain to you further when I talk about the similarities between some cultures. So the word Yalda or Yalda is not part of the Persian language. However, they're using that for this day, the longest night of the year. They call it the night of Yalda, which could be the night of birth or the night of the sun or birth of the sun, S-O-N. Some time back, I was at a gym. This is years back. And I saw a guy had this pendant on his neck. And I thought, oh, he must be Ashuri. Start speaking with him in the Ashuri language. And he was like, I don't understand. I'm from Iran. I said, oh, I'm from Iran too. So we started speaking Farsi. And I told him, this thing on your neck looks like Ashur god. He said, no, this is Ahura Mazda, the Persian god of Zoroastrian. So let me show you why I was confused. Let's see the Ashur symbol. This is actual, they found digging in the remains of Nineveh or around the North Iraq of today when they were digging. They found this, as you can see, this figure of a man, bearded, there are wings, has bow, has feathers of a bird. So Ashur symbol is older than the next one. We see that's the Persian god, Ahura Mazda. So as you can see, there was a reason I was confused. They're so similar. So there is another thing I want to show is what we call Lamasu. Have you seen photos of British Museum? When you enter in the Assyrian or Ashuri section, there are two winged bulls that they were the protectors of the cities or palaces back in the time of the Ashur Empire. And there's a city called Takht Jamshid, Persepolis, I believe, that it was, they said, ceremonial capital of Persia. I don't remember. But when you look at what they had as their protectors to enter that palace, you can see that. As you can see, same concept, look the same, just a little bit difference. I was trying to find something that would show the similarities, like these are protecting this gate and the Lamas of the Ashuri. Bottom line is that what we see as the night of Yalda was taken from the Ashuri culture. However, us as Ashuris, we don't celebrate that night. Let me see. Yeah. When you look at the history, when the Persians talk about the history of Yalda, what it is, what it was, it goes back to what they call Mithraism. We have that. I'm not very familiar with that religion. They supposedly this is older than Zoroastrian. So Mithraism, at that date, the longest night of the year, Mithra was born miraculously out of a rock. So Mithra has, I used to think it was a girl's name, but as I said, I have limited information on this specific subject, Mithra. But if I'm mistaken, it's a woman. I appreciate if you, because I was like looking and it says this deity is a male. He was a miraculous birth, December 21st. And that's what they were celebrating, his birth. And that's why the name Yalda comes, the night of birth. And I just wanted to share that. Another thing is that nowadays, I don't know what they do as far as they celebrate somebody's birthday, but I saw this photo of this setup, the fruit, I remember back before we came to the United States, at that night, there were people would gather together and put that. Do we have plates? Those good-looking treats. So people would gather together. We would sit by the TV, and people would come sit. Would say poems. Would eat pomegranate, watermelon, and this setup. I saw the photo on one of my Facebook friends, Ramsin Ashurian, that he has a catering business. He does a great job. So I took it from his page to show, it's a celebration. It's the longest night of the year, so we take advantage of the longest night of the year to celebrate, dance, say poetry, and it's actually that's when my parents they got married, and my poor mom, may she rest in peace. I used to joke with mom and say, "Oh, so you got married on the longest night of the year?" And she was like, "Just be careful." So anyway, we have a comment here. Johann Mache Rume. Pirayou Ashur, the builders of those Namatsus in the Persian Empire time were again Assyrians employed by the Persians. So that's, as I was saying, thank you for your comment. It does show that the Persian Empire, they took some of our culture, some of our practices, maybe I can say. So we can see that, as Johan mentioned, time-wise, it makes sense, that they took the symbols of our culture. They changed them a little bit here, but thank God for the excavations that were done in mid-1800s, that we were able to, the world was able to actually see there are Ashuri in the world. There are at least 3,000-4,000 year history, if not more. And these are the proofs that who we are. And when you see similarities, that's the thing. Other back to us being the originators, like that night of Yalda. So Yalda, it's another thing that I came across in Europe. This celebration is called Yule Day. And I was reading, do we have that list? Let me go over that list on my phone so I can read it for you. You want to put the whole list on the screen? So this way, so it says the Yule Day falls around December 20 to 22nd. So it depends on what time of the year, the longest night, because when you go to springtime, it's not exactly the last, like March 21st, because it depends on the rotation of Earth around the sun and what time. So celebration is around December 20, 22nd. It says literally means wheel, Yule. No, I don't know who came up with Yule, but I'll get to that. That's what I'm saying. No, it's not wheel. Winter solstice, midwinter. It's the longest night. This is the Yule that is celebrated in Europe. The tree is the symbol of life and cosmos, the world tree. Lights are the light over darkness. Fruit decorations are bringing in what we want, wish of fertility. Trees mean sanctuary to the little people. So sounds like a little bit like Christmas. It says food, sweets of all kind, boar. I don't know if that's like, I don't know, boar, like ham, bacon. I mean, in those northern Scandinavian countries, it gets cold this time of year. Maybe you need all the fat you can get not to get cold. That would make sense. The colors that they used was red, green, and gold. Holy berry symbolized birth blood. Yule logs burned for 12-day nights. Goddess as the crone give birth and transport into maiden. The god returns from the other world by being reborn as the sun child, S-U-N. It's a solar-based, God-oriented, and secular correspondence to Yule Day. It says it's Christmas and Hanukkah. Isn't that interesting? So we see a lot of similarities, night of Yalda, the Persians celebrated it with the birth of Mithra, was born miraculously from some kind of rock. If I don't have that story correct, if I don't have it right, you can correct me, send me information. I would be more than happy. This is one of the subjects I'm not very deep knowledgeable. I know about the dates and what has happened, but deep inside, like Mithra, what was the actual difference between that and Zoroastrian? I have, so another, during this time, a lot of stuff are being mentioned. There is the Night of Yalda, we have the Yule Day, we have Feast of Nativity that later became the Christmas. Then what we have is called Saturnalia. Can we see the next photo? Saturnalia. So back in that time, it goes back to the Romans. So what they were talking here is that when what was his name? Emperor Constantine, when he made Christianity legal, and I believe the Caesar after him made Christianity the only religion in the empire. So there were some like, okay, we are Christian. What do we do now? What are the rituals? What are the ceremonies? What are the things that we need to do on a regular basis? Because before, with our faith, we had certain days. We had this, we had winter solstice, we had the spring, this summer. What do we do? So what happened was some of these people, they kept their traditions. So when I was checking the sources, many of those Roman, the people in the Senate, they had converted, but since they were aristocrats, they also loved their ancient Roman tradition. A Christmas with a lot of Saturnalia customs thrown in was a way to have their cake and eat it too. I like the way they put it in. Those people had traditionally been patrons to the old pagan festivals. So this is by MacDonald. He wrote that back in a couple of years ago. What he's trying to say is that the traditions that we have now, as the Night of Yalda, the longest night of the year, they had these traditions of, as I said, the Persian style was like singing, dancing, reading poetry, eating pomegranate and watermelon. They were the two most important ingredients of that table that they would set up because of the seeds. Because that was like a custom, like a sign of fertility, of birth, of increasing, of no more. The dark side is like, now that the longest night is gone, we are going towards the light. So many different ways of celebrating during that time. But when we go back, I don't know how that Persian celebration is watered down. It was just like that, like before. But we go to Europe, the way that they celebrated, and they are celebrating now. It's the mixture that what we call today Christmas. So we have the Pope. I'm glad you brought it up. So Pope Julius I, not that one. No, let's go back. Let's stay with Pope. So Pope Julius, this guy was Pope 336 years after Jesus Christ. So he chose December 25th. The first Christmas that was celebrated as that day is December 25th, 336, as when Christmas was first celebrated, in an effort to adopt. Now that's the interesting part. In an effort to adopt and absorb the traditions of the pagan Saturnalia festival. It was called first the Feast of the Nativity. The custom spread to Egypt by 432 and to England by the end of the 6th century. One thing this writer doesn't know is that the custom that they have before it spread throughout the world comes from further back. That photo of Nimrod, you were showing that. if you see this one, let's see, what did I have here? So it talks about Christmas is about the birth of Tammuz. I thought Christmas was about Jesus Christ's birth. When I was looking at that site, the way that when you look at how Nimrod is portrayed in the Bible and Nimrod of mythology, this photo that you see says Nimrod deified, ancient Nineveh artifact. These are the artifacts that were found in the Nineveh and the digging that they did back in 1850s. The symbols that he's carrying, and compare that to what we have today under Santa Claus. The Christmas tree, the deer, the presents, right? So what was the mixture? Mixture was, as we were seeing in the previous one, Pope back in 336, he said, you know what? This thing is getting out of hand. We have a new religion that not many people know what to do. Because year 336 is like 321. That's when they had the first gathering of synod of the church. And they started to put, rules back and forth. There are different languages, there are different cultures within the empire, and they had their own deities. They have the Norse, they have the Romans, they had some other, even in the islands, there were so many different gods' names they had same traditions. So what Pope did he brought that winter festival, and now they have the birth of Christ. And the most amazing part is that they said, well, according to the Bible, nobody knows when Jesus was born, because it didn't give us a date, the year, what time of the year that he was born, right? When you read in this book, it doesn't say Jesus Christ born December 25th, year 0. Which cannot happen. There is no year 0. So one thing that I was looking, and I have these 2 books. I forgot to mention that. I get some of my information from these books. One of them is called, I didn't have the cover. It's all torn up. The 2 Babylons, or the papal worship. And the other book I have here is Babylon Mystery Religion. And in these books, they try to explain about the winter festival and just give us some information on this. And when I was reading the part, it reminded me of what my ancestors, the Ashuri, were doing back then when the Christianity started. The writer here says the early Christians commemorated the death of Christ, not his birth. That's why in Ashuri, we don't say Christmas. We don't say Easter. We say High Festival, Ida Gura, Ida Sura. Like the Easter part is more important, was the one that only celebrated by the Ashuri when they became Christian. Then 300-400 years later, when the traditions came from Rome and spread like a virus all around the globe, they had to make a decision, and they said, okay, we accept it because we are brothers, sisters with our fellow believers in Rome. And they didn't call it Christmas. They say Ida Sura, the lower feast, higher feast, Easter. So it says the Catholic Encyclopedia says Christmas was not among the earliest festivals of the church. Irenaeus and Tertullian omitted from their list of feasts. Later, when churches at various places did begin celebrating birthday of Christ, there was much difference of opinion as to the correct date. It was not until the latter part of the 4th century, as I mentioned, for this Pope, before the Roman Church began observing December 25th. Yet by 5th century, it was ordering that the birth of Christ be forever observed on his date. even though this was the day of the old Roman feast of the birth of Sol, S-O-L, one of the names of sun God, S-U-N God. Nobody knows in the Bible what does it say about Jesus Christ's birthday, right? Wrong. It's very simple. When you read, it's not just reading it. It's like in Luke, it says John the Baptist was older by 6 months, 6 months older than Jesus Christ. I'm not going to give you the whole story. Last year, I did that during the Feast of Trumpets, the Feast of Gathering, which is a very important feast that hasn't been fulfilled, but it's very simple. John the Baptist's father's name is Zechariah. He was from the family of Abijah, belonged to the tribe of Levi or Levi. King David, when he had the tabernacle, when he had the tent, he chose from the Levi tribe people, different families at certain time of the year, starting from Nisan to the last month. Every 2 weeks from one family would be a person there representing that family and servicing the tabernacle, taking care of what there needs to be done. We find out that family Abijah, that Zechariah, father of John the Baptist, from, who is from that tribe. He is at the temple or at the tabernacle certain time of the year. He the angel Gabriel talks to him, tells him he's going to have a son after he finishes the service. From there to where they live, from where the tabernacle is to where they live, it's a few days the trip. He gets, we give him a few days. It's not exact date, but you can be very close to find out. 9 months later, John is born. His birthday is around March. 6 months later, which is around September, late September, October, and it fits with the time that they were supposed to come to Jerusalem to be taxed and so many other things, with the sheep not being in the pasture, being cold. There's so many things that shows 1st December 25th is not the date. There is the Feast of Trumpets. However, the way that it was like by Europe, and it was forced for people to convert to Christianity without even believing who Jesus Christ is, that's where the door opened. They had all these temples all around the Roman Empire. What did they do? They had to convert. They changed names, but the same belief was there. They changed it from Tammuz or from Sol to Jesus, but same date, same practice. There were trees. I didn't get a chance to read all of the stuff that I had highlighted here. Says long before the 4th century and long before the Christian era itself, a festival was celebrated among the heathen at the precise time of the year in honor of the birth of the son of the Babylonian Queen of Heaven. Son of the Babylonian Queen of Heaven. And to swell the number of nominal adherents to Christianity, the same festival was adopted by the Roman Church, giving it only the name of Christ. This tendency on the part of Christians to meet paganism halfway was very early developed, and we find Tertullian, which is one of the church fathers, even in his day, about the year 2030, bitterly lamenting the inconsistency of the disciples of Christ in this respect and contrasting it with the strict fidelity of the pagans to their own superstition. They had fidelity to their own superstition. Now, we as Ashuri, identity has been a problem for us because that's the area that we have been attacked. One of the ways to, I have seen, like, let's say the 3 nations mentioned in Isaiah that will bless the world and God blesses them, chapter 19, verse 23 to 25, Egypt, Israel, Ashur. Egypt, they don't need to worry about identity because they have a land and they've had that for before time began. You go back to history, that's the so Johan, you have another comment here. Says the Ida, Surah and Gura means the Ida of the child Christ. and the meaning, the man big Christ Gura. Now, not low and high. Well, I'm trying to explain Idas Surah. I mean, you write it in our language, but this is for us the importance of, I mean, thank you for the comment. It's not when I said low and high, it means that in the level of importance. The resurrection is the most important part. Back then, nobody cared in the beginning about the birth. Not that it wasn't important, of course, but it wasn't celebrated per se by the original Christians. All because there was no tomb. Now there is that church that say, oh, there is that tomb that Jesus came out of it. And they go there and say, oh, there's nothing here. And there's a church and there's that tradition that people go see an empty tomb. And they don't even know if that's the right tomb, that church of something that is in Jerusalem. The reason for that, the program today was a couple of things that there is some information interesting out there about winter solstice, the memories I have from Iran that when they had this, the night of Shab Yalda, the poetry was nice. You know, we would eat pomegranate. I mean, there's not much of a celebration. I don't remember anything specific, you know, but when you go back in time and you can see how it's related to our ancestors, that they believed in Tammuz and Ishtar and all these things. Going back about identity. Identity, as I was saying, we have Egypt, Israel, and Ashur, the three nations mentioned in Isaiah that will bring blessing to the world. Egypt has been there all the time, never any time that name had not existed. Israel, there was an empire 2,700 years ago by the Ashuri. It gets destroyed, and the Babylonians destroy the southern part. They're gone. However, it was their traditions, their customs that kept them alive. You can see with the flag, the Star of David, or some people walking, they have these yarmulkes on their heads, right? You can see them by observing who they are or by the way they respect their traditions. Respecting their traditions has kept their identity intact. Everybody knows who's a Jew, especially now. Now, for us, the only thing we have left, we don't have a land. We've been spread all over the place. We have so many different names. Even ourselves, we call ourselves so many different names. What is left for us? It's our customs that keep our identity, like our language. I keep saying Ashur, we're not this, that. And this was one of our traditions. Now, come to think of it, okay, if you want to bring this tradition, as some people are doing it, I've seen it on Facebook, this is a pagan. Our ancestors were pagan. So you are celebrating a pagan as a Christian. Guess what Christmas is? It's not birth of Jesus Christ. That's a pagan ritual that, see, the hypocrisy that I see here, they call our ancestors before Christianity, chempe. They call them pagan. They call them like the worst possible. Now that we are enlightened by Jesus Christ, we will celebrate their pagan worship anyway. Our identity is under attack. We just need to, I think by knowledge we survive. That's why I'm sharing the information here. You know, I don't, you know, they say the tree is symbolizing the pagan idolatry, this, that, you put these berries. To me, my stomach can handle it. It can digest it, you know. December 25th, I know what it is. I don't like celebrating these things because, you know, you say Christmas, you don't say holidays. Before I knew when Jesus was born, I would say, yeah, Christmas. Now that I know the date is not right, I really don't, Merry Christmas doesn't really, I don't care. I care about our identity. Christ is here, Ashur is here. For people to see either by the way they look at me, either by names that we put on our kids, or by the customs traditions that we honor and respect. That's why when we come to the end of the program, I finish it with Sheikhani because this belongs to us and nobody can take it from us. We're going to finish with Sheikhani as always. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah. Original Christmas was 3 months ago. Enjoy it, buying the gifts, returning the gifts, all the food you're going to eat. And we'll see you next week. Maria Mochun, in the name of Ashur. Matkin. Thank you.
Sheikhani.